Good evening, Ohio. It's James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster of UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Grueling Truth Radio Network, and we're excited to talk about the Bearcats. Mark, what have they been up to?
Well, James, we thought last Saturday's game against UCF was going to be a tough-fought one. It ended up being tougher than either of us expected. The Bearcats won 36-33, and that was after being down 14-3, I think, early in the first quarter, or in the first half. So they came back from a double-digit deficit to win, and it was at Central Florida. So, that's all good. That's probably, it's not probably, it's UC's signature win right now. So. Yeah, it was a good showing. The defense was a little shaky at first. Offense was a little shaky at first. I think that might have been a product of the nerves, knowing that they needed to have a good game. But, all in all, they ended up winning. So.
Exactly, and that's the important thing. They still, even though, like you said, they didn't start off well, but in the second and the fourth quarter, they had great performances. They went up against a team that has one of the best offenses in the country, and they more than held their own.
Yeah, they did. The defense, I think, even after that performance, comes out rated 11th in the country. So I think that's a good thing. Ahead of tonight's, college football bowl, what is it? The ratings, the rating show. It was a good one for the Bearcats to have.
Definitely, and they're up there. They're the highest anyone has ever been. That is a non-top five power conference.
Yeah, they're seventh. I think the previous high was 8. And that tells me a couple of things, James. First, it tells me that they actually do kind of have a shot. At least in the eyes of the voters. But what it also tells me is there's a lot of work that has to be done. Because I think what bothers me of the teams ahead of them is that a one-loss Clemson is third. I don't agree with that. You got Florida and Texas A&M right above them, I believe, at 5 and 6, and Florida's already lost to Texas A&M. So it's apparent that the voters still give the SEC a little bit more cred, probably because of the strength of schedule. And I think, James, what bugs me the most is not only do they need maybe Notre Dame to beat Clemson and knock Clemson out, they need Florida to lose again. They need Texas A&M to lose again. And then on top of that, I don't see, their last game of the season, they play, Tulsa, Tulane. Why am I blanking on which one it is? I'm looking at the schedule.
I know what you mean. I get the two of them confused. Tulsa,
yeah. But the problem with that is that game's already been dropped once because of COVID, and right now it's just a to be announced. And Tulsa just had their game this week postponed because of COVID against Houston. So UC's only remaining chance at a quality win is kind of hanging in the balance. This weekend's Temple, dude. 35.5-point favorites over a 1-6 team. So I don't think that there's much, there's no drama here. So what they need is that last game against Tulsa, and they need to look good in that game.
Well, it's because UC doesn't schedule a strong enough set of opponents. It's their fault for picking Temple. They should have scheduled somebody in a different Oh, wait, that's their conference. Yeah, they don't have a choice on that.
Exactly, man. And that's the problem. We've talked about this time and time again. This team is good. UC is good. And I honestly think they deserve to be ranked where they are. But there's no chance to move up because of who they have left to play, and when your signature win is against UCF, which is a very good signature win because UCF was in UC's place 2 years ago. It's tough. It's really tough. I would love to see them play, in a bigger conference, but who's going to take them right now?
That's true. And like you said, you're right, that game against Tulsa, we have to have that game. That's a must, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if that game isn't played, you're going to be looking at, let's say that everybody wins out ahead of them except for Clemson and Notre Dame because they play each other. So let's say Clemson comes back and beats Notre Dame, and they're both sitting in the top 4, top 5 with wins over each other. You know, what's that going to do to UC? Ohio State, let's say they win out, and they're sitting there with a championship game win over Northwestern, who I think is like sitting 8th right now. You know, I'm sorry, but that's going to look a lot more impressive than UC's win over Temple, or maybe even UC's win over Tulsa.
Exactly. So, yeah, you got Alabama, who, if they win, they're in. You got Notre Dame and Clemson. If Clemson beats Notre Dame, they're both in. If Notre Dame beats Clemson, it knocks Clemson out. Mm-hmm. And let's see, what was the other one? Oh, yeah, like you said, Ohio State. So they're in. So, yeah. So if basically if Clemson wins, you got your top 4.
Yeah, and then let's play this game. What if Texas A&M goes on to win out and maybe post – and I think they would have to post a win over Alabama to win out, I think. If that happens, let's say Alabama only drops a couple because they lost to the number 5 team.
Yeah.
And the number 5 team jumps up ahead, and then I mean, there. Quite honestly, there's actually a way that Ohio State doesn't make it in. You know, if they win out. So to me, I'm sorry, but you know me, I'm a fan of both teams. If Ohio State wins out, that's a little more impressive than UC winning out.
Yeah, I can't imagine Ohio State wouldn't make it if they won out.
Exactly, and I think I think we saw them play their toughest opponent of the season last week, Ohio State, and I'm going to be quite honest with you, they put up 42 points against one of the top scoring defenses in the country. I think Ohio State is 2 bad fumble calls and a good second half away from being the number 2 team or the number 3 team instead of the number 4. So, because they let Indiana back in that game a little bit. And I think there's people that were kind of rattled by that, voters were. So, it's good to see us at 7. Really good to see us at 7. Because that is, you're right, the highest that any team out of the Power 5 has been. Now, my question is that the peak, because of who we have left?
Yeah, I mean, at best, I'm thinking we can maybe leapfrog one of the, Florida or Texas A&M if they lose another game. Maybe we'll beat, one of those 2, but that's about it. Yeah, I can't imagine just with the scenario getting in. It's toughy. Yeah.
I mean, this is, and again, as we said, this is a product of the conference. This is not a product of UC. This is not what's the word I want to say? This is not a value judgment on UC as a football team because they're good. They're real good. It's a value judgment on the conference that they're stuck in because of what happened so many years ago. James, I was even reading an article earlier about what if they value a 2-loss Oklahoma over UC? I'm like, man, that's a stretch, but Oklahoma's
oh wow,
who knows?
Yeah.
And I think I was looking at Jerry Palm's bowl predictions a little bit ago, and I think he had he had Ohio State 2 or 3. Let me see here. He had I'm just pulling it up right now because I don't want to be wrong. He has Ohio State playing Clemson in the 2-3 game, and he's got Alabama playing Oregon. So he's got Notre Dame even falling out of the top 4, and Oregon leapfrogging everybody.
Huh.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that. But in those projections, he has UC playing Miami and Florida in a New Year's Day bowl. The Peach Bowl, maybe?
Peach Bowl.
I mean, right now it's a crapshoot what happens, but the Bearcats need a lot of help from teams above them, but that help in the form of them losing.
Actually, that was really cool a couple of years back. I want to say it was when the Bearcats were, I want to say like 2014 when they were down at the Bengals Stadium at Paul Brown, where they played like back-to-back games against Miami of Ohio, then they played Miami of Florida.
Yeah, you're right. It was that season. That was fun. So that'd be fun again. I'd like to see it. So it's just, it's been a great season. And the only thing that is really biting UC in the butt is their strength of schedule. I mean, when the post game, they said to Luke Fickell, "Do you want to make a statement after the game?" He said, "No, we made the statement." That's great, but UCF, that was their second loss, and so unfortunately you're dealing with a team that their big statement win is against a team that has, let's see here, UCF is, oh shoot, why can't I find it? UCF they have 3 losses.
Yeah.
So, but I hate talking about reasons why it can't happen. It's going to be tough.
It is. Well, on the bright side, we got some good news to talk about. We got basketball coming up.
Yeah, we do. It's going to be, they released the schedule, I believe, and while there's not going to be any fans, they've got a good slate of games. Obviously, the second game of the season is Crosstown Shootout. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a fun season. So
definitely, and they got a bunch of SEC games going to Tennessee, going to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I think the first game of the season, I can't remember who they opened with. Now I don't have the schedule.
Oh, at Lipscomb.
Oh, Lipscomb. Okay. All right. I was thinking, I remember it was an L, and I was kind of hoping it was Loyola. But, I was wrong there.
Yeah.
So, but, it's going to be a good schedule. Obviously, most of the games are conference games. And whereas the AAC isn't as strong in football, it is strong in basketball. And it gets the national recognition that it should. So, now we just have to hope that Coach Brandon can continue to work his magic. There was was it on The Athletic? There was an article by Jason Williams, I believe it was this week, talking about how if people really knew what happened last season with UC and what was going on behind the scenes, Brandon would have been hands down Coach of the Year in a unanimous vote because of all the stuff behind the scenes with his father passing away and all that.
Yeah, I was going to say, my only thing about that is there are too many Jason Williams.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, Jason Williams, the Cincinnati Reporter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was going to say they were there. Because I was going to say I know they had the Duke fella who was Jay Williams at one point that was doing a lot of ESPN basketball, and then of course they had the other Jay Williams, and it's just it gets confusing.
Yeah, too many. But
and the Jason Williams.
It was the local guy talking about how everything that the team went through and everything that Brandon went through. So it was a good read. It was pretty cool. So, hey, I'm looking forward to a fun season of basketball. Anything to take our minds off of what's going on right now.
Definitely. I mean, that's what we really need. We need some relief, some something to distract, something to entertain, something to motivate, and definitely college sports does that for us, especially the UC Bearcats. I mean, obviously the football team has been quite enjoyable to watch, quite enjoyable to root for, and it's just been very inspiring, and hopefully the basketball team can continue that.
Amen, man. Amen.
So, before we let the fans go, any final thoughts?
Nah, hey, they got Temple this week. 1-6 Temple, 35.5-point favorites. Might as well have a bye week. So, let's just keep our fingers crossed that we can get that Tulsa game in a couple weeks, and a couple teams above them lose. We'll see what happens.
Definitely. Yeah, I was going to say the main thing is coming out of the game healthy, no dumb injuries, and just, keep doing what they're doing. So for James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster, it's been UC Bearcats on the Prowl.